So, if you spend any time online, you've probably seen this debate raging. Is India about to become the next global superpower, or is it kind of doomed to stay stuck in this cycle of chaos we see so often? On one side, you get these incredible images of shiny new airports and high-tech cities, and on the other, you see the pictures of crowded streets and you hear the stories about corruption. So which is it? What's the real story here?
And then, of course, you see comments like this. This is really the heart of the argument from the skeptics. They'll point to things like jugaad, that famous Indian concept of a make-do, quick-fix innovation, and they'll say that this kind of thinking, along with all the visible disorder in the cities, is just proof that India's culture can't support real development.
But is that really true? Is a country's entire future just baked into its culture? Or is there something else going on? Something you can only see if you look at the hard data? Well, that's what we're going to do. Let's cut through all the noise and look at the actual numbers and the real structural issues that are shaping India's path.
All right, first up, a big reality check. Because the story of India today is really a tale of two completely different, competing truths. On the one hand, you've absolutely explosive economic growth, but on the other, you've got some of the most massive developmental gaps on the entire planet. And you can't understand India's future unless you understand both of these sides.
So let's start with the good news, and it is really good. India's economy is forecast to grow at a blistering 6 to 7%. I mean, just to put that in perspective, that's more than double what's expected for the US and Europe. This isn't just some abstract number, right? This is the engine that's pulling millions of people out of poverty and paying for all the development. This is why the optimists are so excited. But okay, let's pump the brakes for a second. Because when you put India side by side with its neighbor, China, you get a much clearer picture of the journey ahead. India is still a lower middle-income country. Its human development, that's a score based on things like education, healthcare, and living standards, is ranked as medium. China? It's already upper middle income with high human development, and it's way more urbanized. So yeah, the gap we're talking about, it's massive.
And this chart, it shows you one of the big reasons why. Just look at the cost of logistics. In India, just moving stuff from point A to point B eats up about 14% of the entire country's GDP. That's almost double the global average. Think about that. It's like a massive hidden tax on the entire economy that makes Indian products more expensive before they even get made.
So you see, the real problems holding India back aren't just about messy streets or a jugaad mindset. The real issues are much deeper. Economists pretty much all agree on three big structural barriers. And these have nothing to do with culture. They're all about the skills of the workforce, the laws that govern the economy, and the basic physical infrastructure of the country.
So what does that actually mean in the real world? Well, first, it means the education system just isn't producing enough people with the skills that modern companies actually need. Second, the laws for things like buying land or hiring people can be an absolute nightmare, making it really hard for businesses to get started and to grow. And finally, like we just saw, things like unreliable electricity and slow, expensive transport are a constant drag on everyone.
And here's where the rubber really meets the road. Check this out. The Land Acquisition Act from 2013 can delay a new factory or a new highway by years and jack up the cost by as much as 50%. And the labor laws are so complicated that they've basically pushed 90% of all workers into the informal sector. That means no job security, no benefits, and it makes it impossible for companies to scale up and create more good, stable jobs.
Okay, so how do these big abstract problems like land laws and infrastructure gaps connect to what people actually see on the streets every day? Well, let's zoom in on India's cities because that chaos you see isn't random. It's a direct symptom of these deeper issues. And it's what feeds that whole India will never be developed narrative.
You see, the key thing to get is that the mess in many Indian cities isn't an accident. It's actually the predictable result of a broken system. You've got people flooding into cities for work faster than the cities can possibly plan for them. So huge new neighborhoods spring up, but because they're technically unauthorized, the government can legally deny them basic services like clean water, sewers, or even trash collection. And that's how you lock in chaos and poor living conditions for generations.
And believe it or not, this pattern has really deep roots going all the way back to the colonial era. British city planning basically created a dual city. You had the orderly, well-serviced areas for the Europeans, and then the dense, neglected areas for everyone else. And that legacy is still visible today, with these elite, low-density enclaves sitting right next to sprawling, underserved neighborhoods.
So after all that, with all these massive systemic challenges, is there any real hope?
Is India just doomed to repeat the mistakes of its past? Well, this is where we get to the trillion-dollar question. Because the Indian government knows all of this. They are painfully aware of these problems. And they have launched some of the most ambitious national projects in human history to fix them.
And we're not just talking about small tweaks here. This is a plan for a complete overhaul of how India works. You've got PM Gati Shakti, which is this revolutionary digital platform to coordinate every single infrastructure project to eliminate those insane delays. You've got huge missions to bring clean water and modern sanitation to thousands of cities. And you have PMAI, a massive program to build affordable housing for millions.
And look, these aren't just vague promises on a piece of paper. These programs have hard deadlines and really specific targets. We're talking about building over 1 crore, that's 10 million new homes in the next couple of years. We're talking about 100% water and sewer coverage in 500 major cities by 2026. I mean, the sheer scale of the ambition here is just staggering, and it sets a very clear bar for what success or failure looks like.
So what's the bottom line here? India's future, it turns out, probably isn't a matter of cultural destiny. The potential for incredible growth is absolutely there. The blueprints to fix the biggest problems are literally on the table. The only thing that matters now is execution. Can the country overcome these deep-seated challenges and actually build that more prosperous future for its 1.4 billion people? Or will it get trapped in gridlock and unfulfilled potential? The next decade or two, well, that's going to tell us everything.